Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 4060 in Pragmata. This one is the MSI Ventus 2X version of the card. I'm running it with the latest Nvidia drivers and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Ups, GPU Z, and over on the left, I'm pairing it with the i5 12600KF, overclocked to 5.1 GHz and 32 GB of DDR5. A bit overkill for a 4060, but it should get by with a weaker CPU without bottlenecking it, and also a bit less RAM, since this game doesn't utilize a lot of it. Let's get into it, shall we? Now, what this game does utilize is a bunch of VRAM, so I needed to make a couple of adjustments here to the settings preset, but let's go over them. I'm playing at 1080p resolution using ray tracing enabled, because if you disable this, it looks a little bit worse. Actually, in this image, it looks a lot worse. But the difference between ray tracing on and off is about 10 frames per second, so it's not that big, and I think it's worth utilizing ray tracing. I will try it out without it as well, though, and path tracing as well, although this is a bit too much for a 4060. In terms of DLSS, I'm using DLAA at the moment, so it's using 100% resolution scale here, and FG's turned off. The rest of the settings are set to high, aside from texture quality, which is set too low. I tried it on medium already, but it was having some issues in boss fights and stuff like that. It would drop down some frames and have a few stutters, and I saw some memory swapping issues, so that meant that the VRAM was maxed out, and the low texture quality is the unfortunate drawback from having 8 gigs with this game, but it still looks good though. In terms of the rest of the settings, I have mesh quality set to high, shadow quality as well, and this is it. Alright, okay, so as usual, I'll try a couple of different scenarios here. First of all, we're here inside of this base. It's basically our base where we upgrade stuff. You're going to spend quite a bit of time here. And, well, it's one of the least intensive areas in the game. So we're getting around 80 frames per second, 70 to 80. That's quite good, especially given that we're running ray tracing and DLAA. It's still native resolution here at 1080p res. So pretty impressive for a 4060. And in this more intensive area, we're seeing 70-ish frames per second down into the 60s, which is still quite good, once again, given that we have ray tracing enabled and everything. But again, you only get around 10 more FPS without the ray tracing enabled. And then these reflections, which are not very good already with RT, they're only good looking with path tracing enabled. They will become even worse with the screen space reflections only enabled. All right, so it's not that great in terms of ray tracing reflections and the quality of RT itself, but it's what we need to utilize if you don't want to wreck your entire performance with path tracing, which I will do again in a little bit. But yeah, for now, I'm sticking to these settings because I've been playing for a while. I actually beat this boss with the RTX 4060 already before I started recording this video. Oh, it's still swapping into the RAM, guys. Having a few stuttering issues, even with the low textures enabled. That is not good. All right. All right, a little bit of a slowdown here, dropping into the 40s. Another little stutter there. Another little slowdown. Yeah, guys, I mean, this is not very stable of an experience, is it? 1% lows at 14. I guess we'll need to make some adjustments. So most of the time it will actually be smooth, but then if you get into these boss fights with some more effects on screen, you saw that VRAM allocation went over the edge, it spilled into the RAM, and it dropped our FPS quite a lot. So what can we do here? This is also bad for us to utilize frame generation, because that will utilize a bit more VRAM as well, as you can see right there. Oh man, okay, so we need to drop things down. Let's I don't want to start with the hair quality. That makes quite a bit of a difference there. Should we try lowest texture quality? Should we try medium mesh quality, medium shadows as well? You know what? Yeah, let's do low texture quality and medium mesh quality and shadows. Over here, the effects don't really change that much in terms of the graphics memory, and it's not really that intensive either. This is already on full HD. The ambient occlusion, I don't want to disable that. I like ambient occlusion, and I guess we're gonna do medium volumetric lighting as well. Damn, dude. So we're changing a bunch of settings already. I thought it would work like this, but no. And here we have it, 70s, 60s. It's pretty similar in terms of FPS as what we saw previously, right? It's still dropping into the lowest 60s here. So yeah, adjusting those settings like shadow quality, effects quality, which we didn't really touch, but the mesh quality and stuff like that doesn't really change all that much in terms of FPS, but it does bring that VRAM allocation down a little bit. It's not using 7.8 gigabytes like when we started in this area. It's at 7.4. Let's see if in the boss fight it's still stable, though. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it is stable. That allocation is not going over like 7.6, 7.7 gigs at the moment. So that is good. Okay, we finally found playable and smooth performance here with an 8 gigabyte RTX 4060, and this GPU only comes in 8 gigabyte models, by the way, of course. But yeah, with 8 gigabyte GPUs, you will need to make a lot of sacrifices there, starting with the texture quality, but also mesh quality and shadow quality. I think those three are the biggest VRAM hogs in this game, just like they were in Resident Evil Requiem, actually. And this is, of course, the same engine, the RE engine as well, so it makes sense, right, that these two games perform quite similarly when it comes to the graphics settings and smoothness and VRAM allocations and stuff, consumption. All right, it looks great like this still. Of course, those reflections look pretty terrible. Super fuzzy. This puddle just disappeared somehow. Okay. That was weird. But we're not seeing any slowdowns anymore, so that's good. Oh boy. All right, let's destroy those things there. There we go. Yeah, this is the RTX 5070 video all over again, my friends. But again, like, this is an intensive thing to do in this game, and we're just testing it, not playing through it, because I don't want to spoil anything. Well, let's do this. This is also really intensive here, dropping us down into the 40s. But again, guys, I mean, this is not a bad experience, right? I can definitely play like this. It's fine. It's smooth right now. It's stable. 1% lows aren't too bad either. Yeah, if you have a 4060, I'm glad to say that you can play this game with pretty decent visual fidelity and also FPS at the same time. So the performance is actually quite alright. I'm okay with this, and the game looks overall pretty good still. It's just, again, those reflections without ray reconstruction look terrible, but you can only use ray reconstruction with path tracing. I talked about this in the previous two videos, so I'm repeating myself here, but maybe some of you are watching this for the first time. But yeah, please Capcom, fix the ray reconstruction in this game and enable it with ray tracing as well. That would go a long way. I'm not sure if they're going to do it. Pretty sure they won't, actually, because they did exactly the same thing with Resident Evil Requiem, and they never fixed that. Now, this is probably not a good idea, but you can utilize frame generation here, which will bring that graphics memory to orange, which is not good. It might actually start stuttering a little bit here with 2 times FG, but let's find out, of course. This will bring it up to 100 frames per second. That feels quite nice. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, very stable. Where did the latency monitoring go? I have no idea. Like, it disappears sometimes all of a sudden when I apply some new settings. Basically, mostly the frame generation settings, actually. Oh my god, please just... God, you bastard! He's always protecting himself. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, what is he doing? Yeah, he's doing it. He's doing it. We gotta move away. Move away from the bastard. There we go. Alright, all good. 90-ish FPS there. This is pretty decent, actually, guys. Not gonna lie, I could play the game all day long like this. And I think if it doesn't stutter whatsoever, it will be a way better experience than without frame generation. It does get slightly softer as well. But I think I prefer these 100 FPS, even with the added 5 milliseconds of latency or whatever it is. It's really low. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I'm panicking a little bit. Let's chill. Okay. There we go. Boom. This is awesome, actually. Alright, I just jumped down. Whatever you do, don't jump down. Okay, the guy's almost dead, actually. Obviously, here with the 4060, we don't have multi-frame generation, so we only have 2 times FG, but this is my preferred number for frame generation anyways. It just gives you less artifacting, a little bit lower latency as well, and it's already smooth enough for me in a multiplayer, single-player game, actually. Yeah, and in a multiplayer game, I wouldn't really use multi-frame generation either because it adds latency, and I don't like latency in multiplayer shooters especially. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, no! Okay, whew, that was close. That was close. Yeah, guys, it's a solid experience here with these settings. It's a bit unfortunate that we need to sacrifice so much just because of the VRAM. But it's been like this for a while now, right? We've seen that happening with a lot of GPUs already. Come on, we're almost there. We're almost there. Just shoot this thing as well. Oh my god. Come on, there we go. Come on. Okay. I don't have... Oh, wait, I do have a bit more healing, actually. Let's do that. My gosh, dude, this guy's so huge. That's what she said. Okay. Come on, almost there. Yes, there we go. So this is the cutscene when he dies. Not major spoilers here, by the way, so you're good, I guess. And as you can see, even up close, all of the textures look pretty good, right? I don't really see anything wrong with it. The jacket over there has decent definition there, like the robot itself. So even with low textures, you're gonna be okay. Let's do this. All right. Boom. Now that thing comes down. Yeah, this is a really nice fight. Actually, I like this part of the game. That's why I'm testing it here again, of course. It's also intensive, obviously. All right. Look at the texture quality on my armor and stuff, my suit, the jacket, Diana's jacket there. It looks great, right? I mean, yeah, we're using low textures, but it does look pretty damn detailed, even up close. So it's fine. All right, so that's the experience with ray tracing. These are settings that I would utilize with ray tracing just to avoid that stuttering that we saw at the beginning of the game, or the video actually. Let's disable frame generation now, keep that DLAA. By the way, yeah, you can lower down the super resolution here to quality and stuff, but at 1080p resolution it starts looking really soft, so I would stick to DLAA whenever possible. Now, with path tracing, which is the next thing that I'm about to try, that will use even more memory. As you can see, that's in the orange now. So we should, or we could be seeing a bit of stuttering and so on. I don't know. I'll keep everything as is though. So medium settings overall. But I think even if it does stutter with DLAA here, it's not going to matter because we're getting 20 FPS, right? I mean... yeah, that's a major drop in performance. Remember what we got here previously? 80s, 70s? Now we're down to 20s. We're not even touching 30 FPS, probably not even looking up. Yeah, 21 still looking down. It's the same thing. This is extremely demanding, and I think you really need a fast GPU to render path tracing in this one, like a 4070 and up in performance. I'd say 4070 is the minimum for path tracing in this game, guys. Now, speaking of upscaling, we can use quality DLSS, and we should use quality DLSS. Not only that will give us a lot more performance, but it will also bring that graphics memory into the white, which means there shouldn't really be any case where it drops down and stutters because of the VRAM not being enough. So now we're getting basically almost double the frame rate sometimes, going up to the 40s. Look at this, 40, 41, looking down 30s. Yeah, it still gets 30s though, and 35, so that means that in that more intensive area, it will definitely drop from 30. Once the boss fight starts and like the effects start showing up and so on, it will definitely dip down into the 20s. So this is not a very good experience here, even for those of you who like 30 FPS and who don't mind playing with 30 FPS, it's not going to be good. We need to adjust some more things to make it playable with path tracing, unfortunately. And there's not a lot of things that we can actually adjust. We could enable the frame generation here, the DLSS FG. Let me bring up that latency monitoring again. And that's around 70. It's stabilized at 70 milliseconds. It's not the end of the world. I think with a controller, this should be playable with these FPS and frame generation 2 times enabled. But it's starting to get really soft. Look at the hair, for example. It's just a blob, that smudge, basically, especially under this lighting over here in this hair. It's really bad looking right now because we got the frame generation blurring the graphics slightly and the 720p resolution from quality DLSS, which is upscaled to 1080p, of course, but it doesn't really make a very good job in this game, unfortunately. It's quite soft, guys. All right, and I already started seeing a few stutters, a few spikes there on the frame time graph, so this is probably not ideal. Before we start the boss fight, by the way, I want to make a couple of adjustments still, try to find the best balance between visuals and performance here. Okay, so on balanced DLSS, we get 30-ish FPS. It's like, what, 5 more FPS or so than what we saw previously? That's quite decent. Okay, not too bad. That should make it 30 plus all of the time, and coupled with DLSS FG 2 times, it might actually be okay in terms of latency. Let's see. That needs a while to stabilize. That's why it starts at like 90-something milliseconds when I bring that up. But yeah, 50 milliseconds, 50 to 60 milliseconds is definitely quite doable, in my opinion. Playable in this game, even with mouse and keyboard, I would say. But let's see if it doesn't stutter. Take a look at the 1% lows on the top there. They were down to 14. But it was only for a split second there when we started, so I guess it was just loading. In terms of the gameplay, it's not bad at all. Oh my god, please, I got stuck there. Damn it. So if you want a little bit more stable of an experience, it's still 60 FPS with frame generation. So it doesn't feel very good and responsive. It looks good, especially on a YouTube video, because it's 60 FPS, but trust me, guys, this is not my cup of tea, alright? It is playable, though. It's more playable than I thought it would be with this amount of latency. But it's not a good experience, honestly. This is way softer. You don't have those blurry or super blurry reflections and noisy reflections and so on that we did get with ray tracing on instead of path tracing, but everything becomes so soft in order for path tracing to be playable with a 4060, and it still has a ton of latency as well, that I wouldn't do this. This technology just requires way more horsepower. The major issue that I have with it, though, is that the ray reconstruction, which is extremely good of a tech, even with ray tracing, not with path tracing only, you know. Like in Cyberpunk, we can actually enable ray reconstruction with ray tracing, and in this one, it's impossible. I don't like to see this, man. It would make such a big difference if we could enable this on top of ray tracing. It would make those reflections clean and fix most of the noise issues in the picture, but we can't do that. But hey, let's disable path tracing and ray tracing as well and use screen space reflections, global illumination, non-ray traced for global illumination, that is. Yeah, let's disable frame generation as well and adjust a few more settings here because we now have quite a lot of headroom in terms of that VRAM. So I'm going to use medium textures now. Well, we don't really have a lot of headroom unless we turn this back down to low. So never mind the medium textures then. Again, low looked decent, so let's use that. High mesh quality, can't really go up to maximum. High shadow quality, okay, I thought that wouldn't be possible. Volumetric lighting, we can still max that out without going into the orange there. So I think that's it. These are our new settings, basically. And here we go. So this is not as noisy as it was with ray tracing overall, because the global illumination is not ray traced anymore. So around our legs, where we saw a lot of issues and artifacting and noise basically with ray tracing, that's been fixed. But in terms of the reflections, it's way worse now than it was with ray tracing enabled. Yeah, they didn't look good with RT, but now they look way worse. Okay, here we are. Look at that. Oh my god, that reflection is like the worst. How? That's the thing that I don't understand. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, heck, 22 years ago when Half-Life 2 came out with screen space reflections, those reflections looked a lot better than the screen space reflections that we have in today's games. It's so dumb. We could have had a decent experience here, but those reflections ruin everything to me, at least. Like, you can't not see them, right? Like, I mean, maybe if you look at the ground like this, you can avoid them altogether, but come on. They're a big part of this game. Anyway, guys, this is good for 60 plus FPS. As you can see, no issues in terms of stability. The VRAM allocation is totally fine right there at 6.8 gigs, or roughly that, you know. And let's try to fight the boss and see if that VRAM becomes an issue. Yeah, right now, VRAM usage and allocation instantly go up. 7.2 gigs on that allocation there. Still okay, though. Far from the 8 gigs that we have available here on the 4060, so that's alright. But I mean, you're sacrificing quite a lot in terms of those reflections, once again, as I told you guys. It is a night and day difference. And the global illumination as well doesn't look that amazing right now. Previously, we got like some softer lighting and stuff like that, which is not here anymore, unfortunately. But you do get more FPS, so if all you care about is the FPS and the story of the game, well, you can still experience it smoothly. So that's a plus, I guess, of not utilizing RT, but it just makes me mad, again, because of that ray reconstruction not being available with RT again. Let's try to enable DLSS FG right now. Here we go. VRAM is still enough. And, okay, there's that overlay again. 40-ish milliseconds. 30-ish milliseconds. So it feels very snappy right now. And a lot of people say, like, I couldn't play a game with 43 milliseconds of latency, or 40 milliseconds. It might seem like a lot, but again, this is average PC latency. It's not the added latency from frame generation. In reality, the added latency is only like 5 to 10 milliseconds, so it feels fine. Alright? It's not like it's adding 40 milliseconds over what we had previously. That's why it's pretty playable, and I actually do recommend it very often. Also, guys, a little bit of a different area right here. This is not as intensive as the previous one, by the way. I tested it, otherwise I would just stick to this place and find the boss and so on. Yeah, it looks good, though. We got some vegetation as well sometimes, and it gets 100 plus FPS, very smooth experience. So, is the game optimized despite its issues? I think so. You know, you can make it look pretty good here with a 4060, and in this area there aren't as many reflections and so on, so playing with no ray tracing becomes a little bit more feasible, and it feels like you're not really missing out on that much in an area like this one. Again, yeah, the game is definitely decently optimized in my opinion. I do like the optimization. The major issue that I have with it is that ray reconstruction. Again, I really hate that they tied that to the path tracing here and in Resident Evil Requiem as well, but it is what it is. In the end, you can have a good experience with an RTX 4060. It's going to perform well, and most GPUs with 8GB of VRAM, most RTX GPUs at least, with 8GB or 12GB and stuff, will be able to play this game quite decently with good-looking settings. Is it perfect when it comes to the looks? Not really. Is it good-looking? Yes. It is smooth? Definitely. So that's been it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.